My name is Elizabeth Bellamy. I'm 26 years old. The night before my Yale Medical School interview, my younger sister Juliet poured an entire bottle of bleach down the front of my only blazer while smiling right at me. I stood there frozen. My mother didn't even look up from her phone and said coldly, "Stop making a scene, Elizabeth. It's just a jacket. You're always so dramatic." My father added, "Your sister is going through enough. Don't ruin this for her." I wore that ruined blazer anyway. 6 hours later, I sat across from the Dean of Administration. He stared at the bleach stain, then at my last name, and his face changed completely. He reached into his desk drawer, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and said with disbelief, "Wait, you're her?" What my family tried so hard to erase was about to be the very thing that destroyed everything they built. If you've ever been the daughter your family decided to make smaller, this story is for you. Like the video, subscribe if you want the rest, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Now let me start from the beginning. I grew up in a 5-bedroom home in Massachusetts. My father, Lincoln Bellamy, was the managing director at one of the older asset management firms in Boston. My mother, Bridget, sat on 3 charity boards and on the trustee committee of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. From the outside, we looked like the kind of family the local newspaper covered every spring when they ran their photographs of the Wesley Park tour. I was the older daughter. Juliet came 3 years later when I was 3. From the day she was born, my mother spoke about her differently. Juliet had the right kind of face. Juliet had the right kind of laugh. Juliet had the temperament that people remember. I remember at piano recital when I was 11. I had practiced for 4 months. I played the piece I had been working on without missing a note. When I came off stage, my mother kissed me on the forehead and said, "You played well, Elizabeth," but Juliet had the kind of face people want to remember. Let her have the spotlight tonight. Juliet was 8 and had not played the piano in over a year. That was how it worked in our house. When I was 10, I opened the second drawer of my mother's dresser looking for a pair of stockings. She caught me. She did not raise her voice. She closed the drawer slowly and said, "Elizabeth, my drawer is private. I don't go through your things. You don't go through mine. This is how this house works." I never opened that drawer again until I was 26. You will hear about that later. When I was 16, I sat at the dinner table and said for the first time out loud that I wanted to be a doctor. My father sat down his fork. My mother smiled at me the way you smile at a child who has just announced they are going to be an astronaut. The next week at a charity event in Brooklyn, I heard my mother tell a friend, "Juliet wants to be a pediatrician. Isn't that lovely? She has always loved kids." Juliet was 13. A week after that, my father came into my room. He sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Elizabeth, medicine is a long road. Your sister has the temperament for it. You are better suited to support roles. This is not an insult. That is an observation." He believed he was being kind. By the time I was 16, I understood what they had decided. They had decided which daughter was going to be a doctor. They had simply forgotten to tell me. I applied to Tufts on my own. I wrote the essays without showing them. I got in. I told my parents in the kitchen, and my mother said, "Tufts is fine. It's not a school we brag about, but it's fine." My father said, "Don't expect me to pay for medical school after this. Your sister is the one we're saving for." I started Tuts in September of 2017. I worked 2 jobs through college. I took on debt. I did not invite my parents to a single visiting weekend in 4 years. In May of 2022, I graduated with honours in biology. I drove to a small 1-bedroom in Brooklyn, signed a lease for £1,850 a month, and started work 3 weeks later as a patient navigator with the Joint Pediatric Oncology Program at Dana-Farber and Boston Children's Hospital. My job was to walk with families through the system, to translate, to be present. The starting salary was $58,000 a year. My mother, when I told her, asked, "Patient navigator, isn't that more of a volunteer thing? Are they actually paying you?" I had been working there for 2 months when I was paged to room 4B on the pediatric oncology floor. That was the day I met Lily. Meanwhile, 3 years behind me, Juliet had entered Western College in September of 2021. My mother managed her path the way she managed her charity calendars. There was a private MCAT tutor at $12,500. There was a personal admissions consultant in Cambridge. They were arranging shadowing opportunities through donor connections. There was textbooks bought in advance and left on shelves like decoration. My mother told her friends at dinner parties that Juliet had been shadowing at Boston's Children for over a year and that she had such a gift with children. I had pulled the visitor badge log later. Juliet had been on the pediatric oncology floor exactly 4 times in 3 years. Total time 5 hours and 22 minutes. I had logged 3,200 hours. Only one of us would be told that those numbers mattered, and it would not be told by my mother. I want to tell you about Lily before I tell you anything else. Her name was Lily O'Donovan. She was 7 years old and she had been diagnosed with B-cell acute leukemia in August of 2022. Her mother, Sophie, was 38, a housekeeping supervisor at a Cambridge hotel. Sophie had immigrated from Honduras in 2010. Her husband, Patrick O'Donovan, had been a delivery driver from South Boston. He had been killed on I-93 by a drunk driver in 2018 when Lily was just 3. Sophie had been raising Lily alone for 4 years when the diagnosis came. The first day I walked into room 4B, Sophie was crying very quietly in the corner. Lily was sitting up in her bed with her hands folded like she was at church. Sophie's English was strong for conversation, but the oncology team had just left after explaining induction protocol, and the words had moved too fast. Sophia did not know what induction meant. Lily thought they were going to put her to sleep forever. I sat on the edge of the bed and switched to Spanish. I told Sophia that induction was the first month of treatment, the strongest month, the one that would either get Lily into remission or tell us what kind of fight we were in for. I told Lily that no one was going to put her to sleep forever. I told her she was going to be very tired for a while, but not tired is gone. Tired is still here. When I stood up to leave that night, Lily reached out from the bed and took my hand. She did not say anything, she just held it. I did not know it then, but she had decided something about me. I came back the next day, then every day for a week, then 4 to 6 hours a week outside my official caseload for 2.5 years. I read a Charlotte's Web in the chemo room. She loved the chapter where Charlotte writes some pig in the web. One afternoon, halfway through the chapter, she said, "Elizabeth, maybe someone will write something nice about me one day." I told her of course they would. I did not know I was hearing her plan out loud. Her window faced east. Her room had been assigned by lottery, but she is treated like a gift. Even on mornings when she could not eat, she watched the sun rise. In April of 2023, after a stretch of 2 days where she had not been able to keep anything down, she watched the sun come up and turned to me and said, "Elizabeth, the sun came up again. I made it. I'm here." I wrote that down later. I wrote down the way her window faced east and how she watched the sun rise even when she couldn't eat. I wrote it down in a draft of a personal statement on a Tuesday in April of 2024 in a document I kept on the family Google Drive my mother had set up in 2017. I did not know yet that anyone else read what I had saved there. In June of 2023, Lily relapsed. She was 8. The bone marrow transplant we had been hoping for never happened. The donor matches were not close enough. Through 2024, she had got thinner. By September, hospice had been initiated. Her attending oncologist was Dr. Nell, a German-trained pediatric who had been at Boston Children for 19 years. Dr. Nell was the one who told Sophia in October that there was no more options. Dr. Nell was also the one Sophia would later hand a folded letter to. My supervisor was Ingrid, a senior pediatric oncology social worker who had been at Dana-Farber for 24 years. Ingrid watched me with Lily for 2.5 years. Lily's primary nurse was Kelsey, who had been on the floor for 15 years. Kelsey wrote in the clinical handover notes 38 separate times. Families coping enhanced by Navigator E. Bellamy presence. In October of 2024, Lily was very weak, but very lucid. 2 weeks before she died, she asked her mother to write a letter for her. Sophia wrote in pencil in her own handwriting exactly what Lily said. The letter was 1 page. It would matter more than any document my family had ever produced. A week later, on October 17, 2024, Sophia handed that letter to Dr. Nell during morning rounds and said, "Please give this to someone who can help Elizabeth be a doctor." The next day, October 18th, Boston Children held its annual donor appreciation luncheon. Oncology families were invited to thank the donors. Sophia attended, so did my mother, who was a trustee on one of the Boston foundations that funded the program. They had never met. Sophia recognized Bridget from a photo I had once shown her on my phone of my family at Christmas. Sophia approached her, introduced herself, and said, "I have something for Elizabeth." She handed my mother a folded piece of paper, a drawing. Lily had made it with hospital sketch paper and a number 2 pencil. On the back, in shaky handwritings, were 5 words. My mother said she would deliver it that night. She did not deliver it. I would not see that drawing for 14 months. The day after the luncheon, Dr. Nell forwarded Lily's letter to a man who had trained with her at Boston's Children in early 2000s. His name was Dr. Hudson Mario. He had moved to Yale School of Medicine in 2018 and became Dean of Admissions in 2022. Dr. Nell's note to him was one sentence: for when this applicant arrives. B. Mario put the letter in his drawer. Lily died in early November. I went to a funeral. So did Sophia, so did Kelsey, so did Ingrid. My parents did not. My sister did not. 3 weeks later, Sophia came to my apartment in Brooklyn, carrying a navy wool blended blazer in a garment bag. She told me it had been hers from a job interview years before, that she had not worn it since Patrick died, and that she wanted me to wear it to my medicine school interviews. Peru, I miss you, she said. Lily would have wanted you to wear something with strength in it. I had no way of knowing that when Lily was already right in the future, I did not see it yet. I had been planned to apply for 2024 cycle. I had told my supervisor in early 2024 that I wanted to stay with Lily through the end. Ingrid had said, that is a hard choice. That is also a doctor's choice. Make sure you can come back from it. I drafted a personal statement in April of 2024 anyway, knowing I would not submit it until the following year. I wrote it on a Tuesday afternoon. I saved it on the family Google Drive because that was where I had saved every important document since school. I wrote about Lily by name. I wrote about Sophia. I wrote about her window facing east. I wrote about the sentence I had said to her in Spanish on the first night we met. I closed the document at 6 in the morning. I forgot about it. I did not know that 12 nights later at 12:18 in the morning, my mother had opened the file. I did not know that 13 minutes after she opened it, she had texted my father about it. I did not know that less than 4 weeks later, my sister Juliet would submit her own application to the School of Yale of Medicine with my words inside her essay. Juliet was accepted in March of 2025. By February 2026, she had completed 8 months at a Fiesta medical student at the same school I was about to interview at. I submitted my application in October of 2025. I received the interview invitation in January of 2026. The interview was scheduled for Monday, February 16th. My mother called me the Thursday before. She said, come home Saturday night. Your father is making his pasta. We want a family dinner before your big day. I have not been back to wrestling in 11 months. I said yes. I would have not, except I thought a family dinner before a moment that important meant something. I drove to Brooklyn on Saturday afternoon, February 14, 2026. I hung the blazer in the closet of my own bedroom, which my mother had half converted into a home office. Lincoln met me at the door and said, Elizabeth, good of you to come. Juliet is home from the weekend too, from Yale. Dinner was cold in the way that dinners can be cold without anyone raising their voices.